Hey guys, how's it going? We're at a gentleman's house named Carl. Carl contacted me because he went on a pick and he is into Hondas, Kawasaki's, and that's pretty much about it, right?
Yeah, Honda's got it.
So would you grab a Kawasaki 80?
Yeah, there's a lot of bikes. The guy had KDX 80, KX 80, KX 125 frame with forks, and he had these two China clones, whatever they are, pit bikes, and I got them all for pretty cheap money.
So he said, you want them, you got to take them all, and these Chinese bikes come with it, kind of thing, or?
He initially started bargaining. I said, just give me a price for all of it. And he said, I was going to say 800 or something, and he said 500.
Okay.
See you tomorrow. So yeah, it's 2 hours away, so 2-hour trip each way. I got him Saturday. The KX80 was trashed. I didn't want it. I put it on whatever, Facebook, and
flipped it.
5 minutes, it was gone.
Oh, that's cool.
A kid from Barica bought it.
So he contacted me and he said, I have these Chinese pit bikes that have definitely seen a ride or two, apparently. And do you want them to see if you can bring them back to life? And I said, sure. So we're going to go grab these, throw these in the truck. Very nice of Carl to hook us up with them, and hopefully we can possibly make one out of the two to run, or get both of them to run. Who knows?
It's funny that they're different manufacturers because they look so similar.
Well, yeah, it's the same Honda clone motor on both of them. So,
like I said, this one has a battery, so I suspect that
it's electric start.
At some point it had electric start. Maybe that's an electric start, and there's a button on this, very loose. There's also like a light switch. Someone stuck in there. I don't know if that, I kind of doubt that's original. Who knows?
It does it even have a kickstart?
Yeah.
A place for one?
Yeah. It's like I said,
okay.
The bolt is
Yeah.
loose on it, so
Grooved
it's
up.
going to strip, so I didn't want to. But I put it in gear and moved it back and forth, and it seemed to move.
It does chug over. Awesome.
This has a, one of these is off.
Yeah, it's all smalls.
Yeah, there it is right there.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And hopefully you'll see him on
Oh, I want to see
the big screen.
That's why I gave it to you.
All right. All right, guys, we're going to go load them up in the truck and go have some fun. Let's do a little walk around, get ourselves kind of acclimated or familiar with what we are dealing with. So it probably looks to me like a 15-year-old China copy Honda clone engine pit bike. I think that's what they're called. Give me a quick look, just seeing some hardware missing from a cover here. No heat shield on the exhaust, no carburetor on it. No muffler. Seats trashed, back tires flat. Feel free to point at anything if you see it. Definitely looks like the handlebars are taking a hit. That one's bent way up where that one looks kind of normal. I don't think that's factory. For the lever. Skid plate's got no hardware in it in the front. It definitely looks like a Honda clone motor. I think he said with the 110 cc's. Might even say it on it somewhere. I'm not sure it's going to say it in English, but I think it is a clutch model. Yes, it's got a clutch going to it, so that's kind of cool. I actually kind of like that better than the ones that just have an automatic clutch. You pop them in gear and gas and go. Looks like it's missing something back here too, like would have continued on. Hard to say, right? But I think our attempt is just going to try to be to put it back together, see if we can get it to run and trail ride and just make it a beater again. There's no real value in them, nothing I'm aware of anyway. So whatever we're going to do, we're going to try to do on the cheap. All right, so let's get a jack underneath the skid plate and we'll lift it up a little bit. We'll start spinning stuff, see how the rims are, and you know, so you can pop it in gear, make sure we have gears and that kind of stuff, and see what happens. Either we're going to go bring it back to life, or we are going to find out what it died for. Let's get set up. That's a little better. Rim's not terrible. Let's go see what we got for any kind of chug. Watch it start right up. All right, cool. We know that's good. Let's go and bump it in gears and see if we have all the gears. Or any gears, I should say. I would think they're all up. One. Let's get the plug out of it. And we'll kind of spin it over with that, and maybe we can actually go check for spark too. I apologize for jumping side to side, but nature of it. Right? What do you think our chances are we're going to have spark? I'm going to say no. I would think that's probably what it failed for. My guess, but who knows? Looks decent. I do not. It's got a kill button. So let's go give her a couple of. Actually, it's just. That plug wire is all melted against the exhaust too. I'm sure that's not going to help things. Let's hold it something like that. I'm not seeing anything. Nope, no spark. Oh, I saw one. It's got light spark, and I'm sure the fact that half of it is burned through is not helping things neither. We do have the other bike too. We can always steal parts off of that. Need be. Let's go. I'm going to flip over to the other side again. We'll go pop it in gear. We'll try to spin the tire and just kind of listen to the transmission, see if we hear any kind of, skipping a tooth or anything. Just trying to assess if there's anything really cost prohibitive. Let's go fourth gear. Should be able to turn it. Seems pretty good. It's gonna fight me more. It should be third gear. All right. Just because while we're back there, let's go see if that back tire will take any air. Place your bets. If it was ridden on a flat, that tube's gonna be shot, and it's like flat compared to just flat, I guess. I don't know, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say it's not gonna pump up. I think I won that one. Yeah, that's done. So we know that's an issue. So that's probably what happened. Probably rode it on a flat and then either ripped the valve stem right out of it or the rim just tore up the tube that was in there. I wouldn't exactly say that was a win. All depends how you look at it, right? All right. I'd say we still kind of focus around the engine part of it. We'll see what we need to go and get that up and running. I say we go clean that plug wire up. We'll go check for fluids, make sure it's got fluids in it. And maybe we can dribble a little bit of fuel down and see if we'll just get it to go kick off and fire. If that's the case, we'll start. We got carburetors with it. They're in somewhere in a plastic jug somewhere. If they're for it, I'm not sure, but that's going to be the next step. So I got one screw removed. Let's get that cover off. See if there's any capacity to put a drill on it with a socket to spin it. What we got in there? No, that's just the, looks like the clutch setup. Give that a couple squeezes, see what we got. Yeah, that's just clutch. There's a cam pushing on the pin that's pushing on the plates. Let's look for a sight glass for oil to see if it's got oil in it. Sometimes in the case somewhere there'll be like a clear plastic circle and you can see the oil going across. Here's the fill. It may have a dipstick on it, but it's got a bunch of crap on it. And someone's broken off the top like lip that comes out of there. Let's just see if we can get some pliers on that and get that to twist off of there. I would think it's threaded, right? Could be just like a plug. Let's try it. Does it have a dipstick? Yes, it does. I don't see much in it though. I also don't see, what would you call the fill, right? There's no, do you think that's broke off? Like what would be the mark? There's nothing saying, empty, full, okay. Go take a look at the other bike real quick, see if it's got a stick, something like this. But first, let's go stick our tallywhacker in there and just see if there's anything. Yeah, just about. It's not very much. So that went down to there, right? So that's not even on it. You think that's broke off? You think that's the way it is? Hard to tell, right? Worst case, we just dump some oil in it and call it a win. And totally different. The other one was up there, wasn't it? Let's go see what we got. It's probably a little stubby one. Yeah, that's what I would expect to see, something like that. You know, the little crisscross pattern on it. All right, we're gonna go. Just throw a little bit of oil in that for now, just so I know that the crank is protected. That's all I'm concerned about. I'd say we throw a little yard sale oil in there just to be on the safe side. We're gonna be changing that out later anyway, just so there's something in it. A little 2050 Mobile. It's got horsepower in it too, super horsepower. I wonder if we could like look up what like a Honda 90 or something takes. Yeah, because it's not even really registering on that. I think that's broken off, judging by the quality of the top of it too, but at least there's something in it. All right. Let's go dribble a little bit of fuel in the intake. We'll give her a couple kicks. Sometimes it'll go without a carburetor, sometimes not. We're gonna find out about now. Good. That worked much better than expected. Cool. Let's go digging carburetors and see what we got. It's our little pail of joy here. Let's see if any of these. There's two of them. I think the carb's off the other machine too. That looks really big. I don't think that's going to be it. This is probably more our speed. It does not have the slide in it. There's the slide. That's essentially the throttle. Should have a pin, the spring. There's two pins. I would say the larger one's for the larger carburetor. And what else do we got? We got that. There's like a little hold down plate. I don't know if that's part of the throttle. And there's the nut that holds everything down with the cable. Is that broken off on top? Kind of looks it, huh? Yeah. All right. And then a couple of intake gaskets. Little isolator. Keeps heat from transferring, I think is their purpose. Here's one. Looks like that one's the same thing, right? A little larger opening. No, they're the same. That one's they both got O-rings on it, so that would go to the block. Let's look on the bike and we'll see what we got for our end of the throttle cable. Yeah, so it would be something like, which piece would go into here? See, that went on there. That would have went through. Maybe. There it goes. That's that part of it. You see? So we got that. And then it would be like that. And what it has to do is it has to hook through. You got to feed it. There's a notch down inside. You got to get that cable to land in. Something like that. And then the spring holds tension to get it. A lot of times there's a little plate that's in there that holds the pin. The pin still has to go in yet. We didn't do that. Let's go find it. Yeah, so the pin would drop down and then there'd be like a little washer that holds it. Maybe that's why they tapered that spring to hold it. Let's see if that holds it. No. Yeah, it's missing something. We're missing a little, I guess we could make one out of a washer or something, right? It holds that from falling up. So This, when you pull on the throttle, this allows air to come through. This allows fuel to come through, and you pull up on it evenly. And a lot of times there's like little, yeah, there is on this one too. There's a snap ring that you can adjust the height of it, so you can adjust the air fuel mix by raising and lowering this pin in reference to how much air comes in. All right, let's go see if I can find a little bit more pieces for that. Actually, I grabbed that other bigger carb out of there, and I actually think that might be the one that goes on it. And that still has this on, and maybe the guts are in it. That will be a benefit. A benefit to us. Let's see what we got. Yeah. Get the slide. It does not have that little keeper that we talked about. I have a feeling whoever was riding it either stole it for another bike or just plain actually, let's get that bigger pin. So this is the pin that should be in here, but I think it's going to be the same scenario. Right, yeah. I have of course I do, I have a stash upstairs of a bunch of carburetors. So let's go quick look up there and see if we can go find any of them. Problem is though, when you take a carburetor off, this usually stays on the throttle cable, not on the carburetor. So well, let's go find out. So here's our stash I was talking about. Looks like a bunch of lawnmower carburetors. I got one that's, here we are. You're looking in the wrong pile. That might be promising. Let's go bring that one down. See what I mean? How most of them are missing. Looks like somebody jammed that one in there. Looks like the same carburetor, right? Grab those two. That one, I bet you there's 4 carburetors from like a CB 550 or something. I'd like to try to find some like little like that one, but with the nut on top. No. Not seeing it. Possibly, do we have a... Yes, it does pay to be a hoarder. Wait a minute, we got more. I see more. That looks like something off of a boat. If we found a cable, might find one on the end of a cable. Alright, well I'm going to go poke around and I'll bring you back if I find something decent. I dragged a couple down. Let's go see if... That's already loose. Any of those have what we need. There's no spring in this one. Yeah, there is. It's all contained though. And is that about the same size? It looks about the same size. If we were able to gut this one, how does that come out of there? How do you take this one apart? Unthread that. Get a better grip on it before we launch it. Yeah, I think so. Come on. More. I don't know if we're doing anything. So we want to get something has to come apart. How else would you get that out of there? I'm gonna go work on that. You're making me nervous. Would you believe it has a little cotter pin up top, holding the pin to the post. comes out. But I've looked down inside, and unfortunately it does not have that retainer. It has a spring that has a weird tip on it. Let's see if we can get this out. And maybe we could use a spring in the other one and that'll hold the pin down. Yeah, any more convoluted than this, we're just gonna try grinding a washer or something. Let's go get that. There we go, now we're in. So this has this, well, it has this weird thing. Instead of, usually this looks like a flat washer. So without mixing out totally on parts, this is the one that we want to put together. And is that going to fit down inside there? Probably not. As I launch it across the room. Nope. Alright, let's start separating some of this stuff. We got one more. Do we have one more carburetor to look in? Yeah, this one. Let's go look in this one too. Alright, so let's go make a pile. And then we'll go from there. So these are the ones for the little carburetor. This is the one we just took apart. Right? This is the one that we're trying to put together. Next victim. Ow. Well, that's kind of what we're looking for. Something that looks like that. That one's kind of nasty looking though. Right, let's throw some of these parts. That goes with that. With that. For future. You never know. So possibly we can use this. I'm not sure what's going on with the different slots, but we need something, like I said, that holds that pin down, holds that pin from lifting up, which would be that, as long as it's going to fit going across, right? And we need room to get the throttle cable. So if we break off this thing, we don't need it. And it'll make it small enough to fit in there. I'm going to do it with a cutting wheel. And then we'll just use that as the washer to hold that down. I think we got it. Watch that carburetor be totally no good. Let's see if we can get rid of that. Alright, so we need that to hold that down. Hopefully. Watch it not fit on the pin. No, that's good. I can just go grind some of those tits off so that'll fit down inside the board. Fifth time's the charm. Alright, so the pin's got to go in first. And then that to retain it. There we go. And then the spring will hold that. And once that's collapsed, that should hold the pin. Good. I think we got it. Now we just got to find out if the carburetor's any good, right? We still have to pull the float ball off of that. Let me just make sure that everything fits together like it should. There's a location. That slide has to drop all the way down, and then that'll go. So that'll be capped. We got to put the cap back on it now. And it should just be spring loaded. When we pull up on the cable, it'll pull up on that slide and that needle. Good. That's your idle speed. That opens and closes it a little bit. Let's get that float ball off of there, and hopefully there's parts in there. I get comments a lot of times about, why don't you just buy a new carburetor? You could get one for 30 bucks, whatever. A couple reasons. One is trying to make videos showing how stuff works. And the other is I'd have to wait a week for something like that to arrive. And then you kind of lose steam on making videos, or even just working on a project in general. You know, you kind of just want to keep going every time you stop and then try to start up again. What do you think? We're going to have stuff in there? I'm hoping. We got a float. That's good. Doesn't look. There's the clip. No shit. Hold on. You see it? That is funny. Oh no, know what that is? That's the clip for the needle and seat. See if we can get that out of there. I thought that was a clip for the top. That right there, which is, you see it wedged in there. Hopefully you don't lose it. I watched where it went. Hold on. Yeah, that's for to hold the needle to the float. Now hopefully there is a needle and a float in here. And that would wrap around the end of that needle, and what that does, it pulls down on it when the float drops down. It's got a lot of corrosion on it. And you can see it. That tip is kind of, is that peened over, or is that, no, it's dirt. Okay. So we'll do our best to clean that up. Has nothing to do with it. And we'll grab something to go take this main jet out. And do we have a little screwdriver out yet? No. Let me get some tools. Alright, let's get that jet out of there. That's what that looks like. Not terrible. There's the other end of that needle. Let's get that out of there, because we're going to soak it anyway. So fuel's getting drawn up through here, and here's that needle that you were seeing. So when it's all the way down, there's really no fuel being able to get drawn up, and then it comes out around the side of that needle. And as you rev the throttle, that opens up. You open up a couple of things. First, you open up these ports, and then if you'll notice right around it, the opening gets larger, so you can actually see, here's extreme right there, full throttle. You can see how much of a gap there is. That's all the fuel that can kind of come in. And in conjunction with that, it's the same with the air. This is doing the same thing, like that. So this is doing the same thing as the needle's raising up, allowing more fuel to come in. This is raising up, allowing more air to come in, and your adjustment is that ring right there to tweak. You also have on a carburetor, you'll have an air fuel mix. I don't know what this one does. This guy has an enrichment for a choke, so it does not have a choke, a regular butterfly for a choke. Like, let's see if we can show you one. Any of these have it? No. Maybe I won't show you. Alright, we want to go and get, right there. There's air fuel mix. So you have another, or idle. That might be, I'll find out in a second when I take it out. And your battery is flashing. Hold on one second, let me change your battery. That's better. Sometimes what happens is if the camera shuts off with the with the battery, you lose that one little segment that you're filming. It gets corrupted. And it's a little gummy. Generally this would just be idle. And it's idle mixture, and how I kind of know that instead of it being jet is because it has a spring behind it. A spring behind it holds tension on it, so as you adjust it, it keeps the screw from coming back. And if that was a jet, first of all, it would have like holes in it. There would be holes in it, and you would just run it right in and it would bottom out. You wouldn't be having that adjustment on there. Alright, I think we can fire up the ultrasonic cleaner. I should probably take the choke lever off. We'll fire up the ultrasonic cleaner. And we'll let this soak. We can go to dealing with other items on the bike. I was thinking about that oil too, the amount of oil that is or is not in it. I wonder if we could drain the oil from the other bike. This should be the same engine. We drain the oil from the other bike and see what that volume is, and we just put that same volume back in this one, and then we kind of find out where it is on the stick or not on the stick, and we can make an adjustment from there. Let's get all this out of here. I just don't want the fluid in the ultrasonic cleaner to do damage to it. It's just a plunger. It opens and closes the circuit. We'll lay that down here. You have the rubber components. This is so there's a needle and seat. This is the seat. There is no sealing in there. It's just solid brass, so it's not going to get hurt. If that pin didn't have that rubber tip on it, that would mean there would be a seal generally in there, and then you want to remove that so the ultrasonic doesn't beat it up. All right, I'm going to go get rid of some of these other carburetors so I'm not mixing stuff up, and let's get her soaking. I got that warming up, and I got to deal with all that corrosion that is on the needle. And I have a brass wire wheel drill. I'm going to go try and just use that. See if we can just kind of buff those surfaces up and get rid of the corrosion. The edges will bind. The good part is it doesn't hurt your fingers. And doesn't really take anything off. Doesn't remove any material, because this is just aluminum. Doesn't remove any material other than just the corrosion that's on it. So I'm going to work on that for a little bit. It should be pretty good. It's got some staining on it, but at least got the crud off of it. And then we're going to have to, I'm going to go look underneath the scope and see if there's any damage on that. We'll find out right away whether it seals or not. We're about halfway warmed up. And we got the bowl. I took the gasket off the bowl, not to expand it like I did on the last machine. And there was another idle jet circuit right next to it with a little screw in the center. Took that out also. We'll wash the slide and the main, as long as that doesn't fall through. We'll let all that set up. The other pieces I think will be okay. I really don't want to have them be susceptible. I didn't think of what I want to say. And 30 minutes. Now let them vibrate. It is, people keep asking over and over again, it is the Berryman's stuff that I use. I'll show you. It is actually gunk on this one. Same idea. That's what's in there. And it's probably been, I've probably been using these for a couple years now. All right, let's go get this seat and gas tank off of here. We're trying to get to the tank. I want to wash it out pretty good so we're not going to push any more contaminants right back into the clean carburetor. Looks like just one screw, hand tight. I think it's just holding the seat, and then there's probably more hardware once that's out. Yes, no? We're closer. Got more to go. Something right here. Something's a hole on the other side. Yeah, this has got 12 mil right in the center there to get rid of. I don't think anything's in the tank. Shaking around, nothing really seems to be happening, but let's go see if anything comes out. Dirt's coming from the outside of the tank. A little bit. I'm gonna go take parts washing fluid from the parts washer, and we'll go rinse that through, and we'll see if the PET works. Actually, is it missing? It looks like it's missing the little barrel that the fuel line goes on. Yep, the plot thickens. Well, I guess that would go to show that the other carburetor was the one that was on there, because there it is stuck in it. We're going to continue moving forward with the one that we got, that we're putting together though. Who knows if they, again, both of them were off and owned both bikes, so that might have been them just swapping stuff back and forth. Especially with the, how the fuel line looks like it's kind of hammered on there. This is my parts washer. I use, I think it's Safety Clean. You buy it in a 5-gallon drum. A lot of people use kerosene, I think, too. We're going to throw a bunch of this in there. We're going to go slosh that around, and then we'll open and close that valve, see if that valve's any good. That should be enough. Might be open now, who knows. Yeah. That's it. So it's peeing out of the valve. Or was. So there's an on, off, and a reserve. Seems to be working fine. Which way's off? I think that is off right there. So hopefully it stops. It does. Good. Let's go. I'll blow that out with air. Try to get whatever little remains are. Any remains that are in, out. Plastic usually does pretty good though. It's not like they get in the steel tanks. Steel tanks, it just makes a mess out of everything. The plastic ones don't seem to deal with as much of the fuel turning and then just really roaching everything on the inside of it, sludging everything up. Judging by the fact that the valve worked too, that's pretty good sign too. That's usually the first area where things kind of clog up, not pass through. The little plastic tote has more of just that parts washer in it. I'm going to take a little bit of time while we're waiting, just kind of clean up that frame, get off some of the crud off of it. I see that's a little better. She's presentable anyway. All right, let's go grab that carb and put those pieces together. There we go. That is a tad warm. I'm going to go rinse that off with water. And then we'll get back to the bench and we'll do a quickie assembly. And hopefully that'll run. So we got everything washed up pretty good. I'm just gonna go start putting her back together. Where is my little baby screwdriver? The idle jet. Either the idle jet or the enrichment jet for the choke. Main jet, that is all cleaned out. Those little holes, I run a piece of wire brush, just kind of stab at each one of them. But I also take a just carb cleaner and shoot through and just look at the pattern and make sure the pattern is good on everything. So that has, this is actually part that meters, it's got a number on it. That's how meters how much fuel it can suck up from the flow pole. So that's another adjustment on top of that pin that we were talking about earlier that you can change with the little C-clip. All right, we got, should probably have gotten something to set this on for us filming. We have an air fuel mix, which was, where was that? Was that there? I think so, right? Yeah. I should probably unplug my air gun that is slowly leaking behind us, because what's going to happen is the compressor is going to kick on right in the middle of this and make a racket. I'm going to run that screw in till it touches. That's 1, 2-ish, 2.5. Yeah, I know it's going to go crazy. Okay, we need a float a needle, and then it had that little clip that was sitting in the bottom of the bowl, which is supposed to lock the float to the needle. Not quite sure what the orientation was because I definitely did not take it apart, but it should be something like that. And which way does our float go? Does our float go like that? I think so. I'd say that's a no. So we're going to go slide that little clip on there. Sometimes you'll see a little round circle on them too. It'll give a witness mark to how it was. It fell apart. That might have been why it fell off in the first place. It might need a little bit of crushing to stay on the pin. That seems pretty good. Try that again. Is that backwards? I'll tell you in a second. Nope. Damn. And I'm just going to, off camera, not going to be, so I'm going to blow in on here, and I should not be able to blow through it, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I should be able to blow air through it. Nope. Yep, so that's functioning. I did end up, this gasket was really glued on the bowl, but I peeled it off so I didn't destroy it with the chemicals. I actually believe that is everything that is on the inside. And we go something like this. We have the choke enrichment. I should just say enrichment. We're missing a screw. Right. The enrichment that. Where are you? There you go. That acts as a choke. I believe it just adds more fuel. Doesn't choke off air. Instead, a regular choke chokes off air, makes the air fuel mix richer for when something is cold. Where an enrichment, I think, does the opposite. It leaves the same amount of air coming in, but just adds more fuel. Basically the same idea. So when I put my magnetic tray down, I had the enrichment lever in all its bits and pieces. Let me just double check it again. Good. My setup over here stuck to the bottom of the tray, and all the pieces went everywhere. So I'm not quite sure about the orientation of all the little clips and metal because it all got destroyed. So I'm going to go pick away at that and get that on there off camera, and then we'll continue with getting the slide set up for the throttle cable. Actually, I think I got lucky. I had it all set up right. At least I think that's right. We'll find out if it runs into anything. Alright, so we just got a seal for there. And I think that is it for the carb. Like I said, we still have to do the end of the throttle cable, which I pretty much think I showed already how the orientation, all that stuff goes. So I'm just going to go assemble that. Pop it on. So, got it together. This is the carb off the other bike. More and more that you work on it, it became more and more apparent. This is an elbow that was in, that would have been threaded into the cap of the other bike. But the diameter is different from the two different carburetors. So I kind of just, I didn't want to damage any of the components because I wanted, if they both work, so we can switch it back. Fuel line allowed me to take up that gap and then have some adjustment in there. And that seems like it's working just fine. So we're going to go pop that on there. Yeah, it's a little Mickey Mouse, but that's how I roll. All right, let's gas her up. Get a piece of clear hose so we see what's going on. We're going to fill up that float bowl. And then hopefully the fuel should stop flowing if you see it in the fuel line. That would make it so that the float, the needle and seat are shutting off. If it keeps taking gas, that's an issue. I think we're good. The fuel level's right there. It's still dropping. Let me give it a minute. I'm gonna tap on that float ball. Yeah, it's dropping. It might be sticking. Still creeping. Nope, she's dripping. Not a good sign. So that's coming out the overflow. You see it right there. So there's an overflow up inside that it's not shutting off. Oh well, let's see if we can go fire it up. See if it'll run anyway, but we do have issues. Slight chance I have that float on upside down. I don't think so. I think it's probably, I should have took a Q-tip and put it in a drill, kind of polished up where the needle went into the seat. So just see if we can get it to run. It might have already flooded itself out, but fourth gear right now. Running out of gas. Well, at least it runs. I ran it through the gears. I didn't hear any clanking. That's a good sign. All right, one more time. Actually, I think it's still in gear. There we go. She's a piss of oil. Is that a bad sign? Go see what's happening there. You know what I think it is? That breather hose right there. It's not connected to the breather, and I bet you the oil level is okay. That's Brittle's glass. I bet you the oil level that I made is too high now. I thought there was a hole in the block for a second. I can leave it like that. Take it back off. We'll go crack it back open and see where my misfortune happened. Do you think that float is on upside down? No, because it's got the little puck that stops it, but the clip is off. To fall in the bowl again, the clip for the so that would jam it up. There it is. Yeah. So I think that's probably our culprit. Like I said in the first time, I probably should have gave her a little bit of a squeeze so it fits tighter. How does that feel? it could be not even the right one for it, you know. Like I said, somebody's already been in here before us, so they might have overdone it. The other thing too, it's going to make sure that that's not hitting. So one more thing we're going to do that I didn't do on the first time, which I probably should have done, is we're going to go take a Q-tip. We're going to pop it in the drill. We're going to take a little rubbing, like valve lapping compound or rubbing compound. And we're going to go in there. We're going to go try to polish that surface so that when the taper of that needle goes in, that the seat all the way around it is smooth, that there's no debris or scratches or contamination on it. That's my guess of what was happening. But again, that clip fell off, so. Sorry about the noise in the background. That's the exhaust fan. All right. That's the area we're trying to go clean, the very bottom of the seat. And sometimes the needle too, the tip of the needle just gets so destroyed or gets a scratch across it, it just can't shut that fuel completely off. I'm going to go give her a quick look underneath the scope, see if I see any damage on it. We'll put it back together, try it again. I'm putting it back together. I got the hose on and just kind of blowing through it to see what I got. And I'm pushing down on it fairly good, and I still can kind of blow air around it. Even if I draw on it, it's still leaking around it. So I have a feeling possibly that is not where it's leaking. That we had a good seal there. That maybe the O-ring around the seat itself is leaking. Let's go get that. See if that'll come out of there. Yeah, hopefully not crush it or damage it or scratch it. There we go. Yep, so there's your problem. It's got corrosion around it, and that O-ring is not pinching off like it should. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So that cavity right there is where it was not sealing. So I get for not taking it apart, right? Yeah, so the needle and seat was good. It's just the underpinning. So I'm gonna go try to clean that up. We'll put it back together, try it again, and see if that goes away. Yeah, that old one just was brittle and hard as a rock. It just kind of cracked into pieces. And I got another one. And I put it back in the socket and it was just floating around in there. So that's definitely where I think our issue was. So I have another one. Hopefully we can get that to seat. Should probably put a little bit of oil or something around it. It's a tad probably oversized compared to the other one. Just need something skinny enough to get around the body of it. What if we come from this side? Kind of want to push level on it too. There we go. That might do it. Did I shear off some of it? I think I did. Let me try that now. I'm going to clamp it down, put it back together, try it one more time, we'll blow through it, see if it blocks off the passage. That's got it. All right, let's go try this again. It's been a couple minutes and it is holding fuel right there, so that's good. We got her now. Let's go fire it up, see if we can just go get it to putt, and then we'll play with the idle speed a little bit. I don't know if we can get to that air fuel mix. Where was that? I think it was straight up, wasn't it? That might be a little difficult to access. Anyway, let's go fire it up, see what we get. That's how she does this time. gas is. It doesn't take long. That's not very much fuel that's in there. The problem too, you can't really adjust the carburetor because as the fuel is running out and then the float level starts changing, it changes the air fuel mix on that. I think we got it. We're not dripping. It'll idle decently. There is an air fuel mix, like I said. We got to go tweak on that a little bit. And there goes the compressor, right on cue. I guess I think we had a good jumping off point here. I would have liked gotten further along than what we did, but you know, it is what it is when stuff fights you. But we got it. She's not leaking fuel anymore out of the carb. A lot of stuff to get dialed in. Doesn't have an air cleaner on it yet. That kind of affects the air fuel mix. And I think on the next video we can chase, you know, see what we have for brakes. They're hydraulic. I don't think they're working. We have the handlebars are all kittywampus and bent to one side. You can work on that. All the missing hardware, there's no muffler on it. Just we'll chase all that on the second one. Hopefully be able to get it to trail ride and beat on it a little bit and, you know, deal with busted tubes and that kind of thing. For this one, I think we're gonna go call it. I wanna thank you all for hanging out with me, doing a little bit of ranching, a little bit of fun. And thanks to Carl for hooking us up with the bikes. And maybe we'll get in that other one pretty soon too, if this one plays out well enough for us. Yeah, races. All right, guys, till the next one, I'll see you. Bye.
Is a 1936 Harley Davidson Knucklehead. It's the rarest year Knucklehead, and that's in part because it is the worst year Knucklehead. So you'll notice there's a poster for 37, for 38, and for 39. There's no poster for 36, or at least for the 36 Knucklehead, because if it existed, we would have it. In fact, the reason that they made this bike, well, they didn't advertise it, is because they were really afraid to release it. So in 1930, Harley had brought out their very first all-new motorcycle since about 1916 or 17. And it was pretty reliable after they recalled the first 2,000 or so engines right at the beginning of the Depression. Now, you can imagine, that's quite an expensive mistake and thing to fix. So, when they're coming out with their next all brand new motorcycle in 1936, the Knucklehead, they were again very nervous about the prospect of releasing a brand new motorcycle. So they basically decided, okay, we're just not really going to advertise this thing, and we'll use the 36 buyers as test dummies. I'll give you an example. They had their own monthly publication where, you know, it's Harley's basically magazine. And it wasn't until March that they even mentioned that this motorcycle existed. And it wasn't like they wrote an article about it. They listed off race results, and somebody had happened to win a race on one of these motorcycles. So you would have basically either had to find one that was already on the showroom floor, or ask the guy off the dealership, what's the EL? What's on them when you see the little order form on it? But I'll walk you through how we would start these things. And this one, modified, not a stock paint job. A stock 36 Knucklehead would be looking a lot like that one there. This is a good example of what like a pre-war custom would have looked like. If you did up your bike just to the tops in the late 30s, it looks something like this. So we're going to turn the gas on it. First step on any motorcycle, you won't go far without it. Next thing we're going to do, I'm not even going to worry about the ignition just yet. I'm going to put the choke on, and I'm going to kick it about 3 times to get some gas in the cylinders. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to turn the choke off. Ignition on. You got to set your ignition timing. Remember, it's the 1930s, so nothing is easy. And we're going to give it the kick. So, the 36 Knucklehead, they used the 36 buyers as test dummies. They only made 1,700 or so of them the very first year. And the Knucklehead for 36 is covered in 1-year only parts because they replaced about everything that was prone to breaking on these motorcycles. So, the 36 Knucklehead has a 1-year only transmission. It's got 1-year only oil lines. It's got a 1-year only air filter. I could keep going, but you think you guys are starting to get the idea. So they replaced all this stuff on it, and so if you find a 36, you know, chances are it's got something replaced on it, something that's out of whack. So a true 36 Knucklehead, all the bits correct, quite a rare bike these days. There's a saying in our community, the old bike community, it's that if you're restoring a 36 and you find the transmission, that's really good news, because now all you got to do is find the whole rest of the bike. But if y'all have any questions about this bike or any other bike in here, let us know, and I will talk to you till one of us is blue in the face about these things.
Awesome. Thank you.
Call this one the clown bike for a couple reasons. If you don't get it well, nice red and white paint job, but if you don't get it started in about 2 or 3 kicks, it'll turn you into an absolute clown.